students, today we are going to learn how to create a matrix. So first I'm going to show you how to create an empty matrix and how to put values to that empty matrix, and thereafter let's see one by one the arguments inside the matrix command. Okay, so in R Studio you are using the syntax called matrix to create the matrix. Okay, so if I show you the guidance, this is the arguments and the syntax for creating the matrix. So there are 5 arguments inside the matrix command. First, the data argument. The data argument, the default is NA. So if you need to put initially data to your matrix, you have to specify them as a vector or a sequence. Okay, and then you have to specify the number of rows, and then you have to specify the number of columns, and then you have to specify the by row argument. Okay, so as you can see, by default it is equals to false, which means when you are entering values, automatically it will be included inside the matrix by columns. Okay, so for an example, first 3 values of the vector will be filled to the first column of the matrix, and so on. Okay, so dimension names means dim names means the names of the rows and columns. Okay, so hope you all know matrix is a 2-dimensional array like structure, which means you have both rows and columns to specify in your matrix. Okay, so let's see first how to create an empty matrix. I will name it as mat1. Okay, so it is a matrix, and then by default the data is equals to NA, which means none. So we will ignore the data argument because we are going to create an empty matrix, and then you have to specify the number of rows. I will give 3, and then number of columns and col equals to 3. Okay, so that's it. I'm not going to specify any other arguments. So this is how we create an empty matrix. Okay, so let me print the mat1 for you. So as you can see, it's an empty matrix. All the values are NA. And if you need to specify, if you need to change only a particular value, okay, so in that case you can do it like this. Okay, so you have to first, in this square bracket, you have to mention the row index, and then after the comma you have to mention the column index. Okay, so I will change the 2, 2 value. Okay, so the row dimension is 2, the column dimension is 2. That particular value is here, over here. It is for now it is NA, but I'm going to change it as 10. Okay, so I will specify the row index, it is 2, and the column index, it is 2, and now R knows the particular place you are specifying by that command, and then I'm going to change the particular value as 10. Okay, so I will print the mat1 again, then you can see the value is changed to 10. Okay, and also you can enter all the values. You can change all the values by a single command. If your value has a particular pattern like sequence or data is available, then you have to use a sequence or a vector to specify those values. Okay, so first you have to type like this. We keep the row range and the column index range empty, which means you are going to fill all the matrix by manually. Okay, so in that case, I will show you how to put a sequence. For an example, if your sequence has all the 9 numbers from 1 to 9, it's a natural number sequence. So you can type it like this. Okay, so I explained how to create a sequence in my last video. So if you can't remember, you can refer it. And then you can run this command and try printing mat1. Then you will see this is our outcome. Okay, so hope you understand it. And if you have different data that hasn't particular pattern, then you have to use a vector. Okay, instead of a sequence, use a vector. Right. Now I'm going to show you argument by argument. Okay, so look at the example. Create a matrix with even numbers from 2 to 12 by row, and the number of rows of the matrix equals to 2 and number of columns of the matrix should be equals to 3. So I will rename the matrix as mat2, and it is a matrix, so the command is matrix. And then it says now we have data even numbers from 2 to 12. Okay, so it is a sequence. Okay, starting point is 2, ending point is 12, by gap equals to 2. Okay, so this sequence contains all the even numbers from 2 to 12. Okay, so and then you have to specify the number of rows, and it is equals to 2, and number of columns equals to 3. Okay, and it says to fill these values by row. As you can see, by default, by row argument equals to false. So we have to change it. By row equals to true. Okay, so run the command and print the matrix. Then you will get the answer. Okay, by row equals to true means the first three values of our sequence is 2, 4, and 6, and those three values have filled to the first row, inserted to the first row, and the next three values have inserted to the second row, and so on. Okay, right. Yeah, and then the next example asks us to change the div names of the rows as R1 and R2, columns as C1, C2, and C3. So as you can see, these are the row indexes and these are the column indexes. If you are dealing with some kind of complex data, you may need to have simple name to identify each and every column of the matrix or each and every row of the matrix. So in that case, renaming the dimension names of the matrix very important. In that case, since we have already created the matrix as mat2, you can't create it again and again, because here, if you notice that here in the syntax, you have another argument called div names. Okay, so if you have the names, okay, while you are creating the matrix, then you can specify this argument inside the initial syntax matrix while you are creating it, and then you can put the names. Okay, but since we have already created the matrix in here, I am going to externally change the dimension names. So the command is div names itself, and then the object, we are going to change the div names of equals to it is mat2, and then it should be a list that contains the row names and the column names. So type list, and row names should be given first as a vector. Okay, so our row names is R1 and R2. And next, we need to specify the column names as another vector. C1, C2, and C3. Okay, so we are done. And then we type the mat2. Look, it has been changed. Okay, so that's how we change the dimension names externally, even after you created the matrix. So yeah, those are the very basic things regarding creating the matrix. So with another video, let's meet again how to manipulate the matrices by mathematically. Okay, so until then, bye bye.